Hello there, my name is Tuppence. So this week I am making another birthday present. I've got a couple of moulds. This is the lid from the stacking mould pot which I made just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to combine that with this irregular shaped bowl. And this is a mould that I got from the company called Mouldd. It was in one of their £1 giveaways. When you ordered a kit, you got that for £1. And I'm going to combine these to create a pedestal dish, or a bonbon dish as it's known. And to do that, I need the handle on the top of this lid to be flat, not pointed. So I'm going to help myself by using a little bit of plasticine. This is an oil-based plasticine. And because it is oil-based, I don't want that to mark my mould. It won't damage it, but I don't want to have to clean that afterwards. So I'm going to wrap that into a little bit of cling film, just to protect the mould. I'm just going to cut the excess off. Now I can still squeeze and mould that plasticine, but it is just protected by the plastic. So I'm going to push that down into the bottom of that handle, and I'm going to try and create as much as I can a flat surface on the top. This is just to eliminate a little bit more of the work. If I don't pour the whole of the handle, then I don't have to keep filing it down. I won't have to file so much down. So I'm just poking that, trying to make it very flat. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to eliminate most of the work that I'm going to have to do afterwards. And that will create a flat base that I can stick the bowl on top. Right, I'm going to say that that is enough. And hopefully that is packed in there tightly enough that the resin won't drop around the outside of it. So I'm going to be using craft resin for this, and I need to go ahead, get my gloves on and mix it up. Okay, I've had the two parts separate and I've been warming them up in my curing machine, and now I can mix them. So this is the part B, which is the more fluid. I'm going to put that in the bottom. Just get a spatula so that I can scrape all of this out of the cup. And then I'll be able to mix the heavier part on top. That's the part A. Just make sure that I scrape everything out, because you do want to be fairly accurate, and make sure that you are mixing this 1 to 1. So I've got 150 mils of part B, and now I can add the thicker part A. And that's going to sink down through that part B. Make sure that I mix it all up. Again, 150 mils. That's going to give me a total of 300 mils. And that's what I'm going to start with. I'm really not sure how much I'm going to need for both of these. So I can always mix up a little bit more and add that. It doesn't take very long to mix up. Now that I've got those in the same pot, I need to stir this for 4 minutes. I've mixed that resin until it's nice and clear and there's no streaks, and I'm going to add this Dazzling Diamonds white mica. So I'm going to put 3 good heaped spoonfuls in there. There's a decent amount of resin in here. It's got 300 mils, don't forget. Now I need to mix that powder in, make sure that it's all incorporated. I'm going to stir it pretty slowly. I don't want to add too many bubbles. I've managed to get this nicely mixed up, and then I will be dividing this in half so that I can add another colour to it. I'm looking to have a kind of rippled ice cream effect to this bowl. I'm going for ice cream colours. So make sure that is all mixed in, and that's looking lovely. Just put the lid on that. Now I'm going to divide this in half, pour roughly 150 ml into the other cup, so that I can add a pink colour. Right, that's not bad. So this is light plum, and this is a mica from Arteza. Because I've already got the white in there, this should give me a nice light pink. Oops, that spoon will not fit in there. So I'll just pour a little bit into the spoon bowl. I'm going to leave it at that, just 1 spoonful for that. You grab another stir stick and get that all mixed in. So I'm looking for a sort of pale raspberry ripple colour. Make sure all of that colour mixes in. Make sure it goes all the way to the bottom. I'm not looking for any streaks in this. I do want this to be one solid colour. So I'm just going to scrape along the sides where I've added that mica, and there's powder sticking to the edge. Get that all mixed in. Lovely. Put that away because I'm all finished with that. And now I can bring my moulds back onto my mat, which I've just cleaned, and I'm managing to get stuff all over it already. I haven't poured the bowl mould before, so I don't know how much resin that's going to take, and as I've got something blocking the bottom of the lid mould, again, that's not going to take as much as it usually would, so I have no idea whether I have enough resin or not. If I don't, I'm just going to mix up a little bit more of the white and I'll just add that in afterwards. So I've got something in my mould. Actually, I'm not sure if it's in the mould or on the outside. And now I'm just going to start adding this randomly. I'm going to swirl it around. I'm going to put a little bit into this mould first. And then I'm going to start to fill up the bowl as well. I've managed to drip that on the outside. Let's get rid of that. Again, I'm just going to swirl this in randomly. Start with a little bit of the pink, and I apologise for the view. I'm trying not to, well, I'm trying to get them to pour both at the same time, but not mix, and I'm just holding this cup up so high that it's blocking the whole of the camera view. Trust me, it's looking really pretty down there. You'll have a view of it in a minute. There you go. Let me just wipe that drip off the outside of the mould. So that is almost full. Just needs a little bit more white and a little bit more pink. And I'm going to top this up, and then I'll fill the rest of the lid up. And if I do need to add any more, it will be in the lid, because that's going to be at the base and you're not going to see it if I get any kind of weird colour variation or something. So I have almost got enough, actually. I was contemplating doing 350, and I think I probably should have. I would have had enough, I think. So I do have to add a tiny bit more. But you can see at the moment it's looking lovely and swirly, exactly what I want. I don't think it's going to stay like that, unfortunately, because this is a low viscosity resin, so it's going to stay fluid for quite a bit longer. Now, I don't want to be poking around too much with this one because I don't want to mix the colours, but I do want to make sure that there are no bubbles. So I'm just gently picking this bowl up and dropping it, hoping to dislodge any bubbles that might be along the edge. I'm not going to put my machine on for a while. I'm going to let these sit once I've got them filled up, probably for a good couple of hours, and then I'll put the machine on and cure them. But I do want this, you know, to give it a chance to kind of tack up first. If I heat it up straight away, it's becoming even more fluid, and then the colours are going to have even more chance to mix. I think what I probably should have done is put a little bit of maybe Elmer's glue or just clear PVA just to thicken it a bit, but we'll see what we get. Alright, I've mixed up a little bit more of that white Dazzling Diamonds, and I'm going to pour most of this into the lid. So there is a little lip under there, and the bubbles get stuck under there all the time. And I need to make sure that the resin goes past that so that I can get the bubbles out and it doesn't keep refilling with air. Alright, that should be enough. So now I'm going to take my micro brush stick, and I can see along the edge that there is huge bubbles stuck there. So I'm just going to fold that lip back and let that air out. Let the resin fill in. And I'm hoping I'm not going to end up with any bubbles or micro bubbles around the edge. So some of these are really stubborn, but I just want to give myself the best chance of not having to do any work filling in holes afterwards. So if you spend a little bit of time now, you know, you get good results. All right, so I'm going to speed this up, and then I'll leave these for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to put the curing machine on, and I will meet you back here for demould. They've cured now, and you can see it's changed quite a lot. It looks like it's all one colour, so I think I've lost quite a lot of the swirliness, but we'll see. This one is not as hard to peel back as you think it is. It's a pretty flexible mould. I've waited a couple of hours again for these to be, well, they were pretty soft when they came out of the machine, so I've let them cool down, and that bowl is very thin. Oh, I've got some swirls in there. Yes, that's nice. Not as much as I was hoping for, but it does look really pretty. It's super thin, and yeah, I really like this mould. That's a beautiful bowl. So I'm just going to fold that mould back round, make sure that it stays in the right shape. And now this one is not quite as easy, but it doesn't look like I've got any resin down the bottom of that plasticine. So let me fold this edge back. No bubbles. Still no bubbles. Looks like I have no bubbles whatsoever. That is a miracle. I do have to remove that little lip under there, but I can get rid of that with a deburring tool or a file afterwards. So this is the bit that takes the most effort. Oh, not bad at all. Well, that's nice and flat. It's not as flat as it could be. I'm going to have to file it, but this definitely worked. So let me take that out of the mould. There we go. Yep, that was very successful. That's done most of the work for me, and I just need to tidy that up a little bit, file it flat so that this can sit on top, and I end up with a nice little bonbon dish. Alright, so let me grab my mask and a file. Okay, unfortunately I forgot to hit record as I started doing this. I've got most of it pretty flat, but there's still a dip in the middle, and I do need to bring the sides down to meet that so that it's flat all the way across. Otherwise it's not going to come in contact with the bottom of the bowl. I'm going to be using a 2-part epoxy to stick this together, so I do want this to be level. I'm using a woodworking file to do this, and I do have a dust mask on, so I'm going to carry on doing this. Doesn't have to be completely smooth, just needs to be level. So I will carry on doing that, and I'll be back when it's done. So I think this is all right now. There is still a very small dip in the middle, but it's not that bad. It is nice and level, and if I balance this on the top, it does sit really nicely. So I'm just trying to make sure that I get that centered. I'm feeling around underneath, and then if I let go, it sits there quite happily, and I think that looks pretty good. It's about the same size as the base, and all I have to do now is glue those together, and I'm going to use this 2-part epoxy glue to do that. So again, I'm going to get some gloves and I'll mix this up. So there are 2 tubes, and I just need to use equal parts of both, and this should cure in 4 minutes. So I'm going to mix this on top of a little bit of parchment paper. I'll just open one tube and then put a very small blob down. It's not a large area that I'm gluing together, so that's one. And then do the same with the other one, try and get the same amount of glue. Just open the tube, and it looks like that one is clear as well. I was kind of hoping that one of them would be a different colour, so that when you mix them together you know that you have got them all mixed together. But never mind, I've just laid them down next to each other, and then I'm going to use this lollipop stick to sort of blend those together and mix them up. So this is a 4-minute cure, so I don't really have that long to make sure that they're mixed up. So I mixed it for about 30 seconds, and now I'm just spreading it on top of that base. So I'm going to put a pretty thick lump in the middle where that dip is and spread it out thinner towards the edges. This stuff will dry clear and it is sandable, but I can wipe off anything that overspills before it dries off. It can take about 4 minutes, as I say, so I've got plenty of time to remove any excess that might squidge out. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to crouch down so that I can see whether I'm putting this roughly in the middle, and then I'm going to lay that down. So I'm just going to move it around and try and make sure that it's centered. I'm looking directly down on top of it now, and I can feel whether it wants to tip to one side. Once I'm happy that it's balanced, I'm just going to leave this, and as I say, it says 4 minutes, but I'm going to leave it for a little bit longer, so I'll be back once that is cured. Which really didn't take long at all, and here it is. I think it's super cute. You could put some rhinestones around the bottom, UV DTF stickers on the outside, or even some flowers or something. This bowl, I don't think it really warrants that. I'm going to leave it as it is, as this is going to suit my mum better. I'm going to fill this full of chocolates, and I will have given it to her for her birthday by the time you get to see this video. So check out your lids and your bowls and see if you could maybe do something similar. I hope that you've really liked this, and if you have, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe if you would. It costs you nothing, but it really helps my channel, and I can bring you new content, and you will be able to come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.